So, DPS. First make our way a bit further inland towards that world boss.
Boo, left.
So, this spot is perfect.
I followed Bill down the cliff.
Down is also fine. Just started. Let me just do this by myself. DPS class. I'll start this off.
Oh, I need to stretch my back. I guess I've never been here. I haven't been anywhere here.
Two things you may or may not have noticed there. First of all, I always start out with placing a dot on the enemy. In this case, that's the eruption. If I am on my sword, that's basically the liquid lighting.
For us, would that be spear shards?
For Jen, that could be your bow attack, that one, exactly. It's basically just placing something there. It doesn't matter what it is, it needs to be a dot, so it can even be something that just is up. What's that skill called in the Templar? In Dawn's Wrath, the first one?
Vampire's Bane.
Yeah, that's a dot, right?
Yep.
Well, even your radiant destruction is a dot, I believe.
It is. That one is a channel.
Yeah, and Vampire's Bane is just a dot that sits there.
Blazing
So,
Spears is a dot as well.
Okay. It's draw targeted. Yeah, it's just that the dot is there. It's just sitting there. It's just waiting to do duty. Yes. For my sword, it's 10 seconds. I think the skill I now see is 8 seconds, and this one is 18 seconds.
Yeah, the Scorched Earth is 5 seconds.
Well, it's just sitting there. It's basically doing damage for you on the boss, and it helps out. So that's basically the start of everything. Next thing I try to do is always place a debuff on an enemy. In this case, it's my elemental ray. I then buff myself. And start spell weaving. And you guys should be well aware what spell weaving is, I'm guessing.
Yup.
The medium attack part is the bit I don't get.
What part did you get?
Medium. The medium lasts for about 1 second more than a normal attack.
Can I tell by the dual fireballs on my Inferno
That's
staff?
the
Yeah.
one.
That's medium.
Okay.
You
And
can
is that
see,
why you
like-
don't like using lightning staff?
It's basically the same. You just keep your button pressed for like half a second instead of doing.
I mean, I think this
one
rock
way
is
of
dead.
DPS. As you can see, constantly too. I just keep my fingers on my attack button for like half a second and then the two go off. And it basically counts as heavy attack.
Do you
Nick
weave
joined the
between
server.
every spell?
Yeah, always. The only thing I don't weave between is basically if I use my structure.
Nick joined your channel Guild Hall on the
At
server.
that point I don't weave. Because if you start weaving, you lose the Might of the Guild passive, which is a 10% buff towards. Is it 10? It's 20% buff.
It's
damage
20.
buff. So you want to do something that actually does damage at that point.
Ah, okay, so normal attacks actually use up Might of the Guild.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Good to know.
Yes, they do. They
Hi
do.
Nick.
So you don't want to do a Might of the Guild and then do a weave. You basically want to do Might of the Guild spell. Might of the Guild spell. If you need that buff.
Message received.
What are you using?
Is Might of the Guild a Sork thing?
No, it's actually if you go into your Mage's Guild, if you look at that, the last passive, if you hover over that, you can see
Message received.
casting a Mage's Guild ability grants you empowered, increases the damage of your next attack by 20%.
Gotcha. Yeah, I never use casting
Message
stuff.
received.
But you do.
Well, I don't use Mage Guild stuff.
It's all spells.
It's all
even
spells.
even stamina style.
Well, no, but I mean, like for Might of the Guild, it
Message
says
received.
while using Mage Guild abilities. So I don't use Mage Guild stuff because I don't have that kind of magicka.
Yeah, but it's full.
It works for all?
It does.
Interesting.
And as a Templar, you also have the other more form, which gives the empowered buff.
Just Dawn's of Wrath abilities.
Does it only work? for
No,
one?
he's talking about solar. No, the
Message
flare buff,
received.
the first one in.
Second one. It's a
Second
more-
one? Second one, yeah, second one.
From Dawn's Wrath. If you pop that, then your next ability will do 20% more damage. It's basically the AoE one. It's called
It's Solar Flare.
Barrage? Solar Flare?
Solar barrage, yeah. So what you can do is you can basically just juggle empowered and stay permanently empowered by hitting with that, putting a volcanic rune on your under your feet, and just alternating between those two abilities or whatever you plan on doing. And you're always empowered all the time because you're just back and forth between one empowered to one empowered to one empowered to one empowered.
Mm-hmm. That's basically the way you can do that. Since it's still a damage spell, first you need to go to short range. But that's just me. And I don't like DPS on my Templar anyway, so.
I don't like Solar Barrage anymore.
No, I don't either.
But
We've got.
But I believe that the original version, which is Solar Flare, and it's single
Yeah.
target,
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
gives the empowered buff. It's not just Solar Barrage. Yes, it's the original.
Solar Flare.
Second cast, it's garbage. Unless you're on like Bogdan, then it's kind of nice for his heal phase because it does that reduction. It does huge damage, but it's not for a DPS. It takes way too long to cast.
And that doesn't help.
This is true. It does have a little bit of a cast time on it.
So basically, like I said, you want to do something that dots the enemy.
The problem with dots, though, is if you're a long range, then they're going to come out of the dot and come after you.
That's
So-
why you have to tank.
Right. But I mean, like, if I'm by myself, like, I'll actually open with snipe, what is it? Focused aim. So that does the most damage coming out of stealth,
If
also.
you're by yourself, actually, almost all things we're talking about here doesn't apply to soloing.
So just group.
Soloing is different in that case. All things
Yeah.
we're talking about is
Soloing is basically leveling, and then after that, it's about group dynamics and trying to build yourself for working with other people.
Haha, Bill.
So standard situation in dungeons is normally like this. Tank is standing over here. In this case, Bill would be the healer, and you two would be the DPS. Pick your position.
Jen, do you have Vampire's Bane?
For the Sunfire thing or the Solar Prison?
Yeah.
I have Solar
I
Prison.
mean, either way.
Are you talking about the first one? Never mind, Sunfire. No, I don't have that up.
Actually, it's any dot. If it's just sitting there at that point, it does the damage for you, like the lightning, like the arrow shots you got.
Yeah, I've got arrow shots. I have the
Avian
poison
has
and
entered your channel, Guild
spray
Hall
as
on the
well.
server.
I've got several. Well, I guess that's more of
Yeah.
instinct.
Oh,
Though I
yeah,
had poisons as well.
We
I would
just
stick to your
started,
volley because you're also stamina build. So Vampire's Bane is not going to gain any benefit really from stamina unless you utilize it because of your Illuminate.
Well, I mean, what I'll normally do is I'll throw down Scorched Earth, and then I'll throw down some shards, and then I'll run in there with my dual wield and sit there and do Steel Tornado or Deadly Cloak.
What's Deadly Cloak?
Yeah, but that's the only thing you make your own debuff.
Deadly Cloak, it says it creates a ring of floating blades that reduces damage. So it's a shield, it reduces damage by 20%, but then it also attacks everything around you for 568 every 3 seconds.
Okay.
And then it also gives me the ability,
Link
after
is
I
in chat.
activate it, I can throw a dagger for 3000 damage. With no stamina cost. So it's a free attack.
It's basically the third one or fourth one in the dual wield, right?
Gotcha. I haven't used that one at all.
No, me neither. I try not to think defensively while I'm DPSing.
I die a
Some of
lot.
the mistakes. Yeah, but you're doing a lot of VR 12 dungeons on a VR 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You're being put in awkward positions. But
So-
some people make the mistake, I see that a lot, is using double buffs. For instance, this is one of the mistakes we still talk about in this guild.
Hardened Ward.
No, double buffs. What am I doing right now?
Oh, you got your
Yeah,
Mage
double
Knight
buff.
and your Dragon.
Mage's
Dragon
Light and Inferno.
So, what's happening at my character sheet? Not a lot, I can tell you.
Nothing.
Yeah,
You get the
I'm getting
5% bonus to
5%
magic
more magicka at this point, but I'm basically right now losing like one ability, and it's basically useless. So having double buffs up is useless. For instance, the buff DJ got in his sword, the power surge. Why would he combine that with structured empathy of degeneration? If you've got that up, why at this point do a degeneration? Because you already got a buff going. I always try to get a buff and a debuff going at least all the time, and make sure my buffs are constantly up. So I'm doing structured empathy. I'm just watching my debuffs at this point and my buffs. So I've got 5 seconds, I've got 4 seconds, I've got 2 seconds, and it's gone. So at this point I would redo my my self buff, and at that point I'm again got that self buff. I see a lot of DPS not having that buff up all the time. I just noticed that. I see them doing it once, then the next 20 seconds doing nothing. Or placing this circle and basically letting it expire. And the moment it's expired, it doesn't do any damage anymore, so you're losing DPS at that point. But you want something up. Or people, a lot of DKs have a tendency to do like this skill. Let me actually address that.
Are you guys meeting any location in the game?
Yeah, let me send you an invite, mate.
Alright.
Ah, I'm not online yet.
Yeah, I'm on the loaded screen of wait a long time.
I see a lot of DKs like spamming this skill. That died too quickly, I'm sorry. Something. Yeah, basically not letting dots sit. You want the dots to sit there, else you're just wasting magicka. You might as well do like a heavy attack in between if you've got nothing to do. Or just spam like critical surge of critical sorry. You might as well spam spam your force pulse or something like that at that point, because you're basically doing nothing by constantly using the same skill, which has a dot. So this dot is sitting right now, so it's doing damage all the time. You can clearly see it's doing damage.
Yeah.
I just use one skill.
Alright, I'm in.
Okay.
I look funny, huh?
So, same thing here. One skill. It's basically sitting there. I could do other stuff at this point. I could do other stuff, but it's useless doing this, doing this, doing this. I'm just wasting magicka. This is basically the most useless thing I could be doing right now. The dot is not sitting on its place, it's doing nothing. It's constantly being refreshed, so that's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen in this game. People doing stuff like, what kind of use is that? The dot is not sitting.
with stamina builds, do you still do the weave?
Yeah.
For instance, Jen using a bow, would you
Yes.
weave in between your lethal arrow?
Yeah,
Or...
you have to leave.
Actually, I do believe that if you're using a bow, especially the lethal arrow one, you want to actually do 2 weaves in between. You're basically doing the lethal arrow, you're doing a heavy attack, and then you're doing a lethal arrow again.
I like doing a heavy attack with, and like hold it, like click and hold, and then hit the venom, like my key for venom arrow, and it'll cast both at the same time. So then I get my heavy attack in and my cast in at the same time.
Let's not stand too long in fire with this vampire. It's just dying to the gods. We were talking earlier about always placing dots on enemies, like liquid lightning, or in this case my eruption here. Always starting your fight out with something on the ground, or just a dot on there. As a sword, you do have your liquid lightning, it is sitting there for like 10 seconds, just doing damage for you. We're talking about buffs, self-buffs, like that little fireball I've got going, or your or this one. It's basically useless to have 2 of the same buffs going for yourself. So always check if you're using a skill, if it doesn't have the same buff or debuff. Because basically you're wasting just magic or stamina at that point.
I know some time ago I actually was doing that and I didn't realize what type of buffs were being layered,
really
and
important.
yeah, I stopped doing that quite a while ago. Like, oh, they're both doing the exact same thing. You only get it once.
Yeah. I was also talking a bit earlier about the passive Might of the Guild, which is a powerful one, because it gives you the empowered buff, which makes sure your next spell does 20% more damage. And as far as I know, it counts for every spell. Now that even on your dots.
So it doesn't affect, say, if I do an attack before an like with my staff attack, just regular, that's not going to count towards it, right?
Yeah, that's going to count towards it. It's every attack. If I do this and I do a heavy weave, it's basically gone towards that. Again, it's going towards that. The 20% empowered bonus. But the moment you pop structured entity or your degeneration, you don't want to do a medium weave or a light weave. You know what a weave is, right?
Pop, move, pop.
And you know the difference between a medium and a heavy weave or a light weave. The game works with me. Can you show me some medium weaves?
Sometimes, especially when I'm using lightning staff, like I'll try to do like a pop, then a special, pop, special, pop, special, and sometimes like the single attack just won't go off. I'll end up just doing a big special.
Yeah,
or straight
that's
ability.
why I use medium weaves. I just keep my finger press for half a second on there. It's not like pop pop. It's not like this. I'm not trying to spam. I'm actually trying to take my time to DPS. And just notice if you just take that half second more, the DPS goes up. The moment you start just button spamming, you've got a really good chance that you're just missing stuff in between and not having that medium weave or not having that light weave in between, especially with the lightning staff. I do notice it's more difficult to do a medium weave with the lightning staff. You just have to remember it's basically just that half a second press, half a second press, half a second press, half a second press. And you just have to keep that in mind. And I do silly stuff because I just practice this stuff all the time. I'm not really familiar with the DK. I was hoping that Ski would be here, but he sent me a mail that he couldn't make it, so I'll switch to the DK just to have another character class in here. Buffs, debuffs. This is an important one I usually use. If the tank is not using this debuff, because the tank can be using this debuff. Elemental Drain. The lovely thing about the Elemental Drain is, especially for our casters, that it gives back your magical on, for instance, on Crushing Shock or on Force Pulse for all 3 attacks. And it's doing basically 3 attacks, Crushing Shock, Crushing Shock, Crushing Shock. I'm constantly gaining back magic at this point. I basically didn't leave my 90% range on my magic. I'm constantly almost at full magic when I'm on single target. And it counts for all fire damage or all elemental damage. So, gaining back Magicka, gaining back Magicka, gaining back Magicka. And it even counts for dots.
So every tick of the dot you get Magicka back?
Yep.
So Vampire's Bane is a pretty badass then for that.
Yep. So, that's why I talked about it. I have that debuff sitting, especially if it's a fire, lightning, or a cold damage. You want the debuff sitting there, because it's giving you back at that point, or that debuff, that dot sitting there, because it's doing damage for you. If you do use Elemental Drain, or somebody in the party is using Elemental Drain, it's constantly giving you back that Magicka. Poor little pig. So, what would this do? I use Elemental Drain, you use Elemental Drain. Did that just die to my Elemental Drain? You can see I can even have 2 targets up with Elemental Drain, but your Elemental Drain is not giving back Magicka, is not giving that double buff. Tanks have the Fierce Armor debuff on the one-handed and shield line, which is basically the same debuff that we're using with Elemental Drain. The only reason I personally use Elemental Drain is just to make sure I get some magic up there. So, If you think I don't need that, because I'm pretty stable with my Magicka, you don't need to be using that debuff on the enemy. Don't stack buffs, use dots, debuffs, positioning. We talked about it a bit earlier already, but let's do that again. Let's first clear out these stress mobs. Got a nice spot here. Oh, we're clearing out a few more, it seems. So, imagine that where I'm placing this AoE is the boss. Where would the tank be standing? Where would the healer be standing? Where would the DPS be standing? We're facing from this side. Let's face from this side. We've got a clear line here. This is the boss. What would be the normal position of the tank?
Right next to the boss.
On the opposite side, drawing the attention in the other way.
So, what would be the position of the healer in this case if we're still standing on my side?
I usually don't even see the healer while I'm DPSing, so it's usually probably well behind me.
Halfway between the DPS and the tank.
And
off to the side.
What would be the proper position for the DPS at that point?
Back.
Message received.
If this is the boss and the healer is standing there, this would be the proper position for the DPS. The healer can then see his DPS, can see his tank, can reach his tank, or can reach his DPS with simple spells like healing springs and stuff like that. Because the main concern as a healer, and Bill can confirm that, is keeping your DPS alive. Your tank is usually fine, he can manage himself.
No, he can't.
No.
So, found out why my microphone wasn't working.
And why wasn't it working?
It was only working when I was it wasn't working when I was playing in the game, and it was because I was running the game as administrator. So the game was able to overwrite any other key press, so it wouldn't work with any other programs.
Interesting.
Lovely.
Yeah, my button is Alt, so I did an Alt tab and the light isn't lit up when I switched out the game, but it would work just fine out of it. So, in short, don't run the game as an administrator.
Welcome back, mate.
I do that, but I never have a problem with it. But
maybe because the Alt key is also a Windows function, who knows?
That must be. And I don't use Alt key. No idea.
I don't know, my light was queuing, but people couldn't hear me yesterday.
Well, there's a headache gone.
So, we were talking about just a little revival, dots, getting them up, having them up all the time, self-buffs, debuffs, and positioning. Now, target selection. What would be your priority target in case we're looking at, let's say, a group of 8 stress mobs? 1 tank type, 2 healers, and 5 range types. Volunteers.
Knock out the range and stun the healers whenever they're healing.
out the healers?
No, I said take out the ranged and stun the healers whenever they start trying to heal people. Because the healers don't normally attack.
When you've got in veteran mode, the healers also attack and they do also damage. But the range attack is always the first.
In my opinion, it's always first the healers, and then you go for the ranged ones, and then every melee one. If you're not AoE, like what just happened here. If you need to pick a target, I usually pick a target which is the healer first, then I go for a ranged, and then I go for melee types. Melee types should usually be the tank's responsibility to just pick them up. Any questions?
I heard a dolmen.
That's basically not a question, that is basically, can we do a dolmen out here?
See, it's a question, you interpreted it.
I think I talked long enough, so any specific questions?
Stat allotment?
Fan out! Fight now!
What did you say, Bill?
Stat allotment?
Amazing to stand
Stat
at the
allotment. It really
excellent.
depends on what you want. As DPS, I'm right now without a full clock. I like to sit at like 18,500, something in this area, or 90,000 for my health. Anything else I basically want to do in Magicka. I try to get my critter up without actually spending too much time on it. I think my spell damage and my Magicka is more important. So I just try to make sure I'm sitting at like 18, 15 health,
be careful.
at least for my AoE bar.
We do so with full
Sorry, I'm clicking through all this stuff. I'm trying to keep up with the group while grabbing quests.
And
oh my god, where'd they all go?
For the rest match.
Holy shit, where did they go? Oh, there they are.
1850 is enough to not be one-shotted by every mechanic in the game.
And recovery?
You see, you're beginning to sound like Amory.
Me?
The weed whacker's coming back, just so you know, JC.
You know, great practice would be a guard. Because they'll never die.
Yeah, but then you eventually die if you don't decide to outrun them. Ooh, Sky Shard! I haven't cleared this map at all. Oh wow, it's down there. Yeah.
Dolman is still up. Guess no one's there. Got a skeever coming after me. Let that off, the thing changed. What I do when I'm on a horse, I piss off every single animal that's friggin' around.
Charge! We beg you.
Come on, break it. There you go.
Am I the only one hearing the buzzing coming from JC?
No!
Oh.
There we go. Bastards. There is some evil sounds in the background.
It's JC.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's the weed whacker sound that he had me and Omi fucking in giggle fit like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Jasunari entered your channel guild hall on the server.
Evil Dead. That's what it sounds like to me when the demons are chasing after.
And now it's just an active mic JC, but no sound coming from you.
I don't know, my mind's putting the sound in
Is
there.
your microphone plugged in all the way, JC? No, I don't hear a thing, JC. Look, he's got our problems.
We're first killing this dolman and then we're taking care of his mic problems.